Welcome to the Generation Kids Daily Devo podcast, where we move from wonder to worship, looking for God at work in the world around us, ready to ask the tough questions and discover what His Word has to say to us. Today's episode is titled Dad Talks, and it comes from me, Casey Taylor. We've just spent our first week together talking about wonder and marveling about how big and creative, but also how close and caring God is. And those are all important things for us to remember as we move into a week where we spend some time thinking about wisdom. In fact, there's a helpful book in the Old Testament, which is essentially the first part of the Bible before Jesus was born, and which takes up about 3/4 of the whole Bible. And that book is called Proverbs. Proverbs was written by King David's son, Solomon, and it's known as a book of wisdom. In fact, all throughout, it sort of feels like Solomon has his hand on your shoulder telling you about the numerous things that he's learned throughout his life. Things that he did right and things that he did wrong. Things that he wants his kids to do differently than he did, and so on. And all for the benefit of the reader, to influence their thinking and decision-making regarding decisions that they are or will be facing in the future. Basically, it's a book full of what my kids like to call dad talks. Do any of you have some experience with those? Now, while some of you will definitely know what I mean, others of you may not know what I mean. They may not know what a dad talk is. Maybe for you it's a mom talk, or a big brother or sister talk, or maybe even just someone that loves you a whole lot and wants to see you do well kind of talk. The point is, Proverbs is a book that the author is using to share what he's learned through a life of ups and downs. What we learn about life through our struggles and our victories, our mistakes or our successes, can help us or others make better choices in the future. That is what wisdom is. Understanding and applying knowledge that's been gained through experience. Solomon is sharing what God's taught him and what he's come to understand through his own life experience for the sake of the reader. Now, what do you think the motivation would be for wanting to share lessons like these to anyone? Let's look at the first verses of the book of Proverbs and see what Solomon says about why he wrote them down.
These are the Proverbs of Solomon, David's son, king of Israel. Their purpose is to teach people wisdom and discipline, to help them understand the insights of the wise. Their purpose is to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives. These proverbs will give insight to the simple, knowledge and discernment to the young. Let the wise listen to these proverbs and become even wiser. Let those with understanding receive guidance by exploring the meaning in these proverbs and parables, the words of the wise and their riddles.
Solomon starts this whole book off with a stage-setting passage, basically saying, I'm doing this to help you, to teach you what I know, to guide you, young and old, because he knew that we all need each other to be the best versions of ourselves. If you know anything about Solomon's father, King David, you'll probably remember he was known as being called a man after God's own heart, which is a pretty incredible nickname. But if you look at the mistakes the Bible tells us that David made, he also seems like a pretty spectacular sinner. But what a guy in David's shoes, with his track record and his experiences, was able to share with his son, who could then share with us, is that even when we make mistakes, if we have a heart that is for God, He can use our mistakes to teach us and help us grow. Not only can He teach us through our mistakes, but He can also use them as a warning for others not to make the same mistakes we have made. That's why Proverbs is such a special and powerful book for us, even today. When you think about your life and about the people that you know, I bet there are some pretty incredible people who have experienced so much life. Some of those people will be amazing and godly people. Some will be amazing and godly people who have also, just like David, committed some pretty spectacular sins of their own. But it's in the wisdom that we gain through our mistakes and successes that wisdom can take root in our minds and our hearts to help us make better choices tomorrow than we did yesterday, to choose better paths than the paths that others have taken, because we learned what those roads have in store. To choose to receive wisdom as a gift for a better future from someone whose gift to us is their past experience. When we seek wisdom, we learn and grow. When we share wisdom, we help others grow. Our lives and the community of lives that are interwoven around you are meant to be a gift for your growth. And you just never know whose life might be affected by the lessons that you learn in your life.
Now it's time for
Today's Big Question!
Today's big question is, kids, who can you talk to today? And who can you seek wise advice from to learn from their experiences? Adults, whether it's wisdom you've learned personally or wisdom that's been passed down to you, who can you encourage with the wisdom that you have acquired? God has given us to each other to know and to learn from. No one should be doing this alone. So let's learn and grow together because we are all Generation Kids. Thanks for listening to the Generation Kids Daily Devo podcast. If you want to keep in touch with us on all our social media platforms, check out the links in the description. And if you'd like to help support us as we continue to create meaningful content for kids of all generations, please subscribe to our Patreon by visiting us at patreon.com/wearegenerationkids.